Well, hello, and welcome along to another We Have a Few 506 podcast, The Nearly Men, with me and my glorious co-host, Mr. Doug Allen. How you doing? You seem chipper, Doug.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm in quite a good mood today. I've had a really good night's sleep. I've been sleeping a lot recently, which has been
Nice.
brilliant, and I think that's like helped my mood. It's rained solidly for like 4 days here. I don't know
Right.
what it's like in England, but it's just miserable weather. But I've
I've
been
no idea. I'm
sleeping.
in the States.
Oh God, yeah. So how is it? Is it? It must be already warm and super hot during the day there, is it?
Oh, dude. Yeah, it's pretty warm. It's pretty in the 80s here. So I got up this morning at 7 a.m. and dude, excuse me. I went to play football for an hour or so, hour and a half of football in the 80-degree heat. And now I can't walk at all.
Well,
I have to be carried into Starbucks by my friend's daughter. It was very nice of her. So I'm completely lamed and pretty tired. But no, it's good. Actually, I had to take a nap, so I'm just woken up like, ooh, better go do the podcast.
I've got a question about one of your posts this week. I only thought because I'm only on Instagram. I haven't made a post myself for months, but you posted something about We Happy Few merch, but then you were standing there with a canoe paddle.
Yes.
I couldn't make the connection between
Well,
what you
there's
were
no literal
saying.
connection, Ducky. No. I had my mum lives on a lake
Right.
uh, in a place called Manassas in Virginia. She lives on this lake. It's really beautiful. And she's always going on about her dock. And I wanted to do a post. So I went down to the dock to do the post about it's actually Nearly Men merch. And I don't know why, but I decided it was a good karma to hold a paddle. And then neither of us, between my mum shaking the camera and my poor editing skills, we couldn't seem to get the whole clip to work at all. So then I posted myself in a sort of Michael Jackson by the fire on a white rug post, talking about the same thing. Yeah, I say I designed. I didn't do the logo, so how possibly have I designed the t-shirt? But I designed sort of concept for the t-shirt. So we now have a t-shirt that you can get from our shop, that We Have a Few 506 shop, that has our logo on the front. So it's got the Nearly Men logo on the front, and on your back it just says, "How's your German?"
It doesn't.
It does.
No, it doesn't, you bastards.
Yes, it does.
Oh
I
my God,
wanted
I'm
to
gonna have
put
to get
like
that. I'm gonna
you
have
remember
to.
the old Danger Mouse logo that used to have a D and an M with like a lightning rod in between it?
Yeah,
I wanted
yeah.
to put that over the heart, but I think it'll be We Happy Few logo instead. But like D and M, yeah, it just says actually German on the back.
You cheeky bastard.
Available to buy. Yes, utter bastard. I was designing and done I done some tour hoodies as well, which I'm not sure are in the shop yet. The t-shirt is because Carsten's gone away. Carsten put it on there for us. But he's gone up to Poland, so I'm not sure whether he's 1 second. I'm just gonna do some. Yeah, sorry. I don't think he's going to be available to do it, but the tour hoodie is going to be really cool as well.
Oh, cool. No, I'm looking forward to seeing that. I can't believe you've done that. That's really, that's really.
It's cool, isn't it?
Well, yeah. Well, and speaking of the dreaded subject, I did have my first lesson back last week on
Oh, do
Wednesday, I
tell.
think. Uh,
Oh, do tell.
Oh, well, we were just, I said to him, be very gentle. It's the first I said, I don't remember anything. And so we were just doing like filling in the gaps. Like he's devised all these massive Excel spreadsheets with sentences, and you have to put in the correct verb in it. And it gives you a little correct or he's a very bright guy, this teacher. So yeah, so I've just been doing a bit of that, and I do remember little bits of it, but it's only because I'm kind of looking at the words. I can't remember anything off the top of my head, which is really frustrating. But I've made a start, and I've got another lesson on Tuesday night, and then one on Thursday. I'm going to do 2 a week until I get back from England in May, and then I'm going to join a school. So it's ongoing.
What if we do the next t-shirt has just got your spreadsheet on the front and on the back? That might work.
Yeah, fill in the blanks. Exactly.
All right, I might circle back to this, but there's something I wanted to do. So I'm away from my kids, obviously, and
Yeah.
I usually miss them in the morning. I wake up and I think, man, I miss my kids. Sometimes they leave me messages, sometimes they leave me WhatsApp messages, emails, hi dad, and this stuff. As you know, I have a 3-year-old daughter, and apropos of, I think she's picked up on a couple of words she maybe shouldn't have done
Right.
recently, and has been throwing them around out of the house. But yeah, I think rather than make a big deal out of it, and then you make it far more interesting for them to say, we just tend to let it go. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to play you a message that I got from my daughter yesterday morning.
You shit, Dad.
So let's hear that one more time.
You shit, Dad.
You try and raise these children right. Bring them into the world. You give them love and nurture and affection and a place to live and warmth and food. And that's what they do. They
well,
shit, Dad.
Yeah, she doesn't mean it, obviously. She's not aware. Because it sounded like quite jubilant. It sounded like, you're great, Dad.
Yeah,
it did. The wrong word.
Quite right. Yeah, you're quite right. Yeah. So knocked my confidence first thing, I have to say. maybe question a few choices, who I am, what I am, that kind of thing. Shit, Dad, clearly.
So what have you been up to this last week? How's it all going over there?
It's going good, actually. Other than my football has completely lamed me. It's going good. It's going really good. Reconnecting with a whole bunch of folks, guy I used to work with when we were doing some business together, that kind of thing. Just trying to get everything sorted before we attempt a move, perhaps.
Okay. Well, good luck with that. I've been not doing too much, it has to be said. Sleeping a lot, and it's been raining a lot, and I've done two things. One, I'm rewatching the Bosch detective series.
Oh, he's good, isn't he?
Have you seen it?
Yeah, I like the lead actor. I think it's great.
Yeah, I mean, I read all the books years ago. I've read them, some of them 2 or 3 times. They're just really good reads, and it's just a great watch. Just when you're watching, just kind of a detective show, isn't it? Kind of. I don't know if we have anything like that in England at the moment. No, because you used to have things like Morse in the 80s.
Yeah.
And then we had what was the one with Robbie Coltrane where he played Cracker. You had Cracker. That was a brilliant one. That was probably one of the best. So it's just great with all the sort of rain and the fact that I don't have too much energy to do stuff. I've literally watched like 5 seasons in like over the last week, and it's been outstanding. And for some reason, I became obsessed. I don't know how this happened, of finding out what it's like to live on a submarine. So this is how an idle mind works. To our
This is the mind of a man in recovery.
Yeah, exactly. This is early recovery. This is what it's like. Your mind just wanders where it wants on inconsequential, crazy things. And when I'm not hating myself, which is, not a very nice thing to live through, I wonder really obscure things. And so I found something on the internet, and it was a guy that was allowed on a nuclear submarine, and he got on in the Arctic Circle. So the submarine had to break through the ice. It looks so cool. And he lived at he's only on it for 24 hours, but he did so much stuff. And it just looked incredible. It looked really amazing. I just wonder if anyone knows a submariner or is one. I can't imagine there is one, because submariners tend to probably not have that much contact with the outside world, one would imagine.
No.
But it just seems like really interesting, because the submariner, I think they're the only kind of thing in the Navy where you kind of learn to do everything. Like if you're, say, in the engine room, you still have to, I think you have to have loads of other skills. You have to sort of do other jobs as well, so you can sort of stand in for somebody and all this kind of stuff. And it's a very, very tight space to live. And it just looked really interesting. All the weapon systems on it, like launching torpedoes, they have to, it's not just a torpedo goes out of the tube. They have to have this strange system where it replaces the weight of the torpedo while it's leaving into a sort of a water system below it, so that the weight is replaced, so the attitude of the submarine doesn't just suddenly change and it starts sort of coming to the surface, as it were, because the front will be light. It's all this crazy stuff you have to think about, and all the sonars and the depth of the water and the saline solution in the water, how it changes the radars and stuff. It was like a geek fest that I just sort of immersed myself into. But obviously the consequence of that is that now my YouTube feed is just military stuff. It's just rowing stuff. You might be interested in this, what it's like living on a C-130 gunship, or what it's like living in an aircraft carrier, or what it's like. Yeah, so I've been doing that this week.
Wow. If that conversation is not a cautionary tale as to as never to get involved in what Doug's got involved in, I don't know what is. It's better than any poster. You are going to be obsessed with living on a tin can full of dudes under the Arctic.
Yeah, it's very strange. It's very strange. It's been quite interesting, but now I'm fed up with it. But now I have to kind of not click. I'm now going through, your homepage on your YouTube thing and sort of, not click on anything. So it gets back. So the algorithm takes it back to the normal stuff that I'm interested in, which is cars and bikes and boring stuff, really, other obsessions, really.
Are there any underwater bikes?
No, there's no underwater bikes. Well, you can get underwater things, can't you? You follow behind, like yeah. But yeah, I don't know why I got obsessed by that, especially because I was watching Bosch as well. I wasn't watching anything military. I wasn't watching anything that I was trying to think, where did this come from? Why was I suddenly obsessed about life on a submarine? I think my mental state is that I just don't want to be around anyone.
Oh, that's yeah. Or really close to a very few people in a tube under the sea. Could be the same thing.
Exactly, and where you don't have any contact with the outside world whatsoever. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see the appeal of that. I do, I can. Although, apart from that, when you were talking about submarines, I could only quote Roy Kent from Ted Lasso when he says, "It's my fucking nightmare." So I've got a new segment of the pod that I'm going to introduce. It might be staggered depending on when and how I have contact with this friend of mine. Last week we began the adventures of Puat Stig, which is not an anagram of his name that his wife had painted genitalia on the wall before she left the house that he let her live in rent-free for a couple of years. I think he managed to get the keys back and he's in, good old Puat. But now he WhatsApped me a picture of a very large used condom in the ripped out fireplace.
Really? What, that she's placed there strategically as
very strategically, yeah.
Oh, really? My God, she really put a lot of thought and effort into her anger and hatred of this man who essentially helped her live rent-free for 2 years.
Yeah, the bastard.
Yeah, I mean, how dare someone do that? I wish my enemies would pay my rent for 2 years.
He's not a good sort. Yeah, so that's there.
And how did he get rid of it? Did he don like shoulder length marigolds and gas mask and or did he just burn it in place because it's in a fireplace, right?
He may have burnt it in place, although knowing the fella, he probably just picked it up with his teeth and threw it in the bin. Checked it for any goodies and threw it in the bin. Yeah, I went out the other night to watch because I'm over in the States. My buddy's got a couple of teenage kids. I went out to a high school track meet. That was kind of cool. Like they do things like so cool over here. Do you know what I mean? Like their athletics and stuff. It's all at night. Loads of people come and they go in the bleachers and there's like, tannoy announcements and it's like the bloody Olympics. It was amazing.
Yeah, it's like a professional thing almost, isn't it? In high school and in like college football. You ever seen like the Rose Bowl final? It's like 100,000 fans turn up to it and it's screened across the country, isn't it? Like a nationwide event.
Yeah, I think most people that I've spoken to prefer college football to the major league stuff because I think it's more flowing and more interesting.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, they really, because you can get sports scholarships and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you can get that in England now, but I remember when I was growing up, that was really popular in America. And I think loads of athletes have had that opportunity, haven't they, over there?
100%, yeah.
And it wasn't a thing in the UK. You couldn't do that. but I think you probably can now. But at the time, I mean, it's a huge thing. I forget what series it was. One on Netflix, but it was really interesting. It was following, I think, 5 or 6 guys going through the high school system in the football, American football.
Yeah.
And it's just tough, like, because if you don't make it, you know, there are a lot of these kids, you know, their families, their brothers, their sisters, you know, all the attention is focused on this one individual, like a 15-year-old kid who's good at American football, and then, you know, then he gets a thing to college, and he gets given a car, and he gets all this stuff, and then if you don't make it into the NFL, then it's over. I mean, what do you do? Like, it must be a really, really tough place to be must be tens of thousands that don't make it. Do you know what I mean?
I think the schedule for them is absolutely insane, brutal as well. I mean, I didn't watch that show, but I know that the kicker for, I think, the Cleveland Browns is a Scottish dude with like long red hair, who all the girls like. And he did an interview, and he was talking about how brutal it is because, you know, New York Giants now. Okay, Leighton was on that like a shot. He plays for the Giants now, does he? Because obviously they're the Scottish Hammer. That's him. Yeah, that's it. Because he does a bunch of like rugby style tackling as well, which is awesome as well. Flying around muting people. But he was saying, because obviously it's not a free ride to college. Do you know what I mean? It's not like, hey, you come along and play some footy, and the rest of the time just party and do bong hits. They're expected to do all their studying as well. So they're up at 4 and they're still studying until midnight. So it's like, it's proper boot camp brutal.
Yeah, no, we'd love to get someone on that's had that experience. I know that there's a guy in the rooms here who won, I think the Georgia State Championships in American football. I think he was a quarterback or something. I can't remember what he was. He's got a ring up there and everything. You know what I mean? They always get a ring, a championship ring. First time that his university had ever won it. And, you know, well, we spoke about this last week with our guest, didn't we? Like, he was good at baseball, didn't he ever? He was.
Yeah, I think him and John Bernthal were like high grade baseball players.
And we had a guy who was the baseball guy in our group.
Neil McDonough.
That's right. Yeah, and he went on a scholarship to, is it Syracuse? I don't know if that's pronounced right.
It is pronounced right. I don't know whether he went there.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, that's because I remember having that discussion with him, because I remember he threw me a knuckleball. I think I've told this story before. And we were shooting at Hatfield, and it was just, you know, one of the days, I think it was a rain affected day or something, whatever it was. And we're all waiting around, as we did quite a lot of, as you do in our business. And so we started playing a little bit of baseball, and he threw a knuckleball, and the ball just came towards me. I remember really fast that it was a kind of like chin height, and then it felt like it got about 15 feet away, and then the ball just dropped 2 inches and carried on. It just literally went like this, dum, 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 like that. I just stepped back. I was like, what the hell was that? It was absolutely unbelievable. I was mega impressed by it, because it was really fast as well.
Yeah.
But you just don't realize the techniques and, you know, all the stuff they have to learn. And, you know, I think it's super competitive. You know, it's kind of, there's, you know, no guarantee of making it. It's, you know, like I said, when I was in this place, obviously I had to stay in this rehab. I'll just say it was rehab. Out loud. I don't know why I'm skirting around it, because it's embarrassing and quite humiliating having to go through that, but it's something I've had to do. But I was with 4 ex-footballers, and 2 of those had long-term professional contracts, long-term careers. And their problems started when they retired, which is obvious, because you don't have 50,000 people screaming your name every week, and you just don't know what to do with yourself. But the other 2 didn't have that. They'd signed professional papers, but they were effectively teenagers when they left, like they were 19 or 20. One of them was at, they were both at really big Premiership clubs. One of them was at Liverpool, and both of them had been in the system since they were about 11 years old. And then done YTS and, you know, signed professional papers, and were in the squad, you know, playing reserve games. I don't know quite how it works. But, you know, one of them was told he wasn't good enough. And the other one he had a leg break at 16, and then he tore a hamstring at 19. And the new manager came in and just said, I'm not going to wait for you. I'm just going to buy someone. And that was it. Like, that was it. And it must be so tough for, that's all you've been doing since you were 7 years old.
And you're always the best as well. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. And you've been with a Premiership club from like 11 or something, in their Saturday youth things or whatever it is. I don't know quite how it works, because I know Alex Sadger was on Fulham's books when he was a kid, wasn't he?
Yeah, apparently so, yeah.
And then you get to that stage where you sign a professional contract. It wasn't for big money. The money was nominal, but it's a big deal signing your contract, obviously. It's a big, big deal. And it's very impressive. I was very impressed with both of them. And they both saw themselves as failures, which is really, really disheartening. But, but then when they were cut, it was, bye. That was it. And then all of a sudden you're 20 or 21 or 22. Then we had another guy that came down that had a really bad injury at 23. So he'd been a first team player for about 3 years in Premiership club. Got axed, and that was it at 23. Just, what do you do? You know what I mean? It's really, really difficult for, I've met people in my life like this before, people that have success really early in their life.
Yeah.
And they never seem to replicate it again.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
There's a really good book called Moneyball. I think his name's Billy Bean. The movie of it with Brad Pitt plays it.
The movie was very good, yeah.
Yeah, that was his life, for most of his young life. He was a phenom, do you know what I mean? He just crushed all the stats and smacked it out of the park, and he just got into the major leagues, and he just couldn't deliver on that level. And after a while, he just started getting cut, dropped down to the minors, and they got rid of him. And it was like, sometimes for whatever reason, you just can't fulfill that potential. Some of it can be mental, which is bad, but in itself. But the stuff where they just get an injury must just be heartbreaking.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched that film a couple of times. It's called Moneyball with Brad Pitt, and I forget the other guys in it. The other guy's name is very, very good.
Leighton will tell us in a minute, I'm sure.
Yeah, who played like the geeky maths guy. But his story was quite even more unique because, like he said, Jonah Hill, that's right.
Jonah Hill, yeah, of course.
And when he got, because they had a little sequence of when he got signed, they recreated the sequence, and he'd got a place at Harvard Law School. So he was great academically. And the way the scene went is they said, look, normally we have a guy that's got one amazing attribute, like he's an amazing batter or an amazing catcher or an amazing fielder. And we try and get 2 or 3 more out of them, but we normally sign guys like that from college. And they said, but you've got like 4. Like, he was an amazing hitter, an amazing pitcher, an amazing thrower, and an amazing catcher. He had the full set. Like, they were convinced it was the New York Mets, and they were convinced he was going to be a star, an absolute star. And you're right, he never ever delivered. Never even got a period, because I checked him out afterwards and sort of went through his Wikipedia page and was like, he must have done something. Like, he must have had a great season once or a half season or something. No, he just didn't. He just couldn't do it.
Yeah, I remember Ryan Giggs talking for the short time that he was the Manchester United manager. He was talking about a player it must be in their B team or the wider squad, whose name I'd never heard of. And he said, on the training pitch and when we're practicing, I've never seen anybody more lethal. Considering he played with like Solskjaer and Van Nistelrooy and those guys, they're quite lethal. They said he'd never seen anybody more lethal, but he just could not do it on the big stage.
Wow. Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to get someone on that's had that experience, because, there seems like for me, I never achieved anything in my early life. I've said this a few times, and it's not something I'm hitting myself down about. Like, it's just a fact. I kind of, I went and, put myself through education and had a reasonably successful acting career that sort of paid my rent and paid my mortgage and did all the stuff that you're meant to do. But that all happened sort of in my 30s and 40s, really. It wasn't, if I look back to my teens, especially, I was particularly unproductive and wasn't able to be in any way But it's interesting when in times of my life when I've met people that have had so much success early, they always, or in my experience, they have a lot of problems, mental health problems, you know, and I've met them like 25 years later, you know, when they're, you know, just, you know, fumbling through life, or just, you know, they've got a regular job or something like that. But they've had this period of, you know, something really unique about them being, you know, really profound in their life. And then all of a sudden it just disappears in a heartbeat, and how you deal with that.
And I think some of that is having not failed when you're young. I found that in my late 20s.
What
Came
did
out
you
of drama
find?
school. I went straight to a show for 3 years. I did movies. I did a Band of Brothers and stuff like that. And then later on in my 20s, suddenly I wasn't landing stuff. Do you know what I mean? And suddenly people weren't picking up the phone as much, and I wasn't getting stuff that I should get. And like, I don't know, that sort of, you're just not used to that type of failure. You don't take it on the chin and think, oh, I should do better. I should do this. You just have a sort of petulant fit about it, and then end up thinking, I hate this, I'm not doing this anymore. They don't deserve me, type of thing.
Well, that's what I was going to say. How did that affect you? How did you get around that? Because it's quite an interesting.
I didn't. I got more and more sort of more and more angry, like a kid would if you know doesn't get their own way, and then more and more sort of slightly desperate to prove myself, which you can't walk into an audition. They smell desperation on you. You've got to be in there, calm but focused, and then sort of trying too hard and that kind of thing. And then it goes back because then you fail because you tried too hard. And then you get in this kind of cycle of sort of just, I don't know, just bad energy that goes round and round and round. And you get more and more irritated and angry and pissed off at the whole thing. And then, like we were talking off air, it starts to get in your brain then. And then you start to get down and depressed and pissed off and anxious about it all, which then plays into it again. So you just, you get this bigger spiral that it's caused in part by always having been the best when you were younger, and always succeeding when you were younger, and getting stuff that you want when you're younger, and not having that sort of like steel, learning from failure and embracing failure and thinking, well, it's not that I'm rubbish, it's I genuinely need to get better in this direction. I need to learn from that.
But is it, do you think that's where in our business especially there's you know, it's widely known there's a lot of addiction problems, not just in our business, but in a creative, especially in the creatives as well, where you have to be, where you are kind of essentially working on your own. It's not, you don't work alone, but it's very isolated or experience, isn't it? When you're, you know, just self-taping and, you know, there is an element of did you see an element of competition in it? Because you were good at sport at school, weren't you? Clarify that. You were in like pretty much every team. I know you were a pretty good cricketer and a good footballer.
I was a pretty good sportsman, and I played my county at rugby and that kind of stuff. And so yeah, very competitive. Even now, the game I played just now with a bunch of 40-year-old guys, it was flying around being competitive. It's not gone away, Ducky.
Was it football? Was in what we know as football, or was it American?
Soccer?
Soccer. Yeah, good. What position?
Well, I was playing all over the place because no one would track back. I was supposed to be playing on the right wing, but then I was playing left back and in the middle, and you know, it's a bunch of old dudes. And the guy that I play against is this French fella who always stacks the teams against me. So I was doing a lot of running around and tracking and kicking. And at one point, this fella, his name's Pat, that I've known for years, playing against me. He just body checked the life out of me.
Oh, really?
Right through me and smashed me into the sidelines. And then he came over, he's like, sorry about that this time, but I know you like a bit of roughhousing, don't you? Bring it on, keep going, mate, keep going.
And now you're in bits. Tomorrow you're going to be hurting, you know that, don't you? It doesn't come till the following day.
I'm in absolute bits now.
But do you find a lot of, is that a great outlet for your competitive nature? Do you find that without doing some form of competitive sport, regardless of the level, that you can become do you become a bit of a pain in the arse at home if you don't have an outlet for that? Because you're not acting anymore, are you? So so that creative thing, I mean, like being a builder and stuff like that, obviously there's creative creativity in that. Just like Josh last week. So, you know, he builds stuff, he's done out his house, he made a big project of doing each room. That's quite interesting. And that was the first time I've heard it sort of described like that. But with competitors, it's a very different thing. You've just got to win, haven't you, at all costs?
Yeah, I tell you what, when I left LA and came over here, I'll answer the two-part question on that because, yeah, when I'm at playing football regularly, I can't wait to get to the Saturday or the Sunday morning to play. I just love it. But yeah, when I left LA to come over to the East Coast and sort of like say, all right, that's it, I'm done. Do you know what I mean? I'm just beating myself up and all the rest of it. Let's just go another direction for a while. I got quite quickly into sales in construction, like selling stuff on jobs and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I can see why the Wolf of Wall Street guys are buzzed up. Not that I was a Wolf of Wall Street guy, I was a DC fence guy. But selling stuff's quite a good rush as well if you're competitive. Because you are pitching against other people take estimates on jobs and they go up. And if I can go in there and slather on a bit of slimy charm and use my English accent as a leash and get the job, I always found that quite soothing to my competitive nature. Yeah.
But do you find that it was the frustration of not landing parts, that it was the effects of it that essentially made you kind of quit? It wasn't so much like the physical side of it, because obviously when we're not working, we all need to do other things that sometimes that's just part of life, being an actor sometimes. But I know I've been through that many times, but I'm interested in what made you make the decision to stop. And was it that part of your personality that was super competitive and had essentially kind of won at everything that you did, and all of a sudden you're in a position where I frequently tell people when they ask about the business, what's it like? And I said, well, you know, sometimes I say, look, I take rejection for a living. Like, that's the job. You know what I mean? And I work for nothing, because like you're doing self tapes, which you spend 3 days, working the script. If you've got a bit of research to do, you do it, you practice. If there's accents or anything else, you do it. Then you set it all up and then you shoot it. And then you just wait for 2 weeks mentally obsessing about, have you got it, have you not, while they've forgotten you the minute they saw your tape,
Well, they fast forwarded through your tape in 12 seconds.
Yeah. And you're there 3 weeks later going, did I get it? And then your agent goes, oh, no, you didn't get it. And I'm like, why didn't you tell me? I've kind of lost my point a little bit now. But
your point was, did that sort of
did it lead to you making because you're a really good actor, and it's kind of was that a big part of that decision? Was it the consequence of the pain that it causes you? Mainly with any artist, and if there's any artists listening, and I know there are several, there is a lot of frustration, because with us, we have to seek permission to work. We have to do an audition. It's not necessarily down to us. I've done really bad auditions and got the job. I've done sequences of really producing high quality auditions and never got a job. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like we're not even part of it. It's just like, does your face fit? Okay, now we've got another guy that's got, grey hair and 6'2" in the thing. So we need to.
But his is real. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, mine's real. But so there's a huge element of powerlessness involved in the business. And that's a constant, you have to accept that. And even with artists as well, because as soon as an artist, and I know there's artists listening to this, they'll draw something, paint something, create something. And then when it goes to market, they'll put it on Instagram or they'll put it on a marketing platform. And then if it sells or if it doesn't, your whole kind of self-worth is based upon the result of that. And it's just interesting to see, how you deal with that. And was it that ultimate sort of powerlessness that kind of made you go, what's the point of continuing with this? Let's take a long break. Let's do something else. Because you have said to me that the decision you made, and when you started getting your own work, you said you were the happiest you've ever been as well.
In part, it was the sort of failure stuff, but actually, and it goes back to the question we were talking about that we got sidetracked about the addiction in the industry.
Mm.
Because addiction essentially, I mean, I'm mansplaining addiction to you, as far as I can glean. It is a series of peaks and troughs, high, low, high, low, high, low. You know, I'm up, I'm coming down, I'm up, I'm coming down, I'm on the stuff, I'm off the stuff, I'm on the stuff, so I feel good, I'm off the stuff, so I feel really good because I got off the stuff, I feel down, I'm going to get high. Do you know, all that thing basically describes the life of an actor with auditions. It's exactly the same. You're high, you're low, you go to audition, you smashed it, you come out, they don't call you low. They call 2 days later for a callback, you're high again. It just up, down, up, down, up, down. That I found extremely wearying, but I was fine. Not so much as if I thought I was going to get the job, because you always think you're going to get the job and you have the hope and all the rest of it. I was fine until I did this one flick late on before I stopped acting, and I didn't enjoy it. And I was like, well, here's the thing, man. If you're going to go through all this, if it's going to be a vocation, if you're going to spend 89% of the time freaking miserable and staring at your phone every 12 seconds, then you've got to enjoy it at the end of it. So that, for me, was when I was like, okay, you know, I do enjoy the highs. I don't enjoy the lows. I can easily see where people attach an addiction to that as well. So when they're feeling low, they get all high, drunk or whatever. And then when they're feeling up, it's like, whoa, that's an absolute rush and that kind of stuff. And how the two things almost kind of like mirror one another, like a double helix or whatever.
Yeah.
So I can see, because it's a very, and it, you know, you're anxious about this or you're worried about this or whatever. So it's nice if you can medicate yourself as well. I think there's a lot of that, as far as the addiction is concerned. But I think there comes a point, if it's just a series of sort of manic episodes and payoff isn't good enough, either you're not working or you are working and you think, I'm not really enjoying this.
Yeah.
And you've got to step back and think, okay, can I recalibrate? Can I rethink things? Can I get some perspective? Can I think, you know what, manage your expectations and all the rest of it, and try not to, get high and get low. But I just knew I couldn't do that. Like for me, the second the phone would ring for an audition, I'd get an anxiety attack. Do you know what I mean? I'd spiral. And then you spiral 2 weeks ahead. What if I get the money? What if I do this? What if I that? Then I get set in a state for the audition. Then I go in. Do you know what I mean? It's like you going in there with all the wrong energy. I mean, you don't want someone walking in through the door who's sweaty and desperate, because that's not a character. You've got to go in calm, focused with a character. And so I just, in part, it was because I wasn't enjoying it. And in other part, I felt like I'd sort of lost the ability to do it. I'd lost the ability to walk in a room calm, focused with a character, delivering it an audition. I was just getting in my own way massively. I just couldn't get out of my own way. And so I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to knock this on the head. There's no point being miserable if the payoff isn't a rush or a high or something you love. So I thought there's a convoluted answer, but it was in sort of two parts, I think.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. And that's something I experienced last year.
Right.
That's why I stopped doing auditions. I did a couple, I think, in August. And I'd only done about 5 or 6, I think, last year up to that point. I'd been trying to sort of step away from it for the same reason. It's kind of when you said, you get the phone call, and the anxiety and the panic, and it just comes on, because it always seems to happen just when I've kind of got into a rhythm of life. I'd be doing something else. Like last year I was working on my little website thing, and I'd sort of getting clients, and it was just sort of bumbling along quite nicely. And I'd be able to have a kind of a really healthy routine, which is really important for anyone, not just people with mental health problems, but anyone. And then all of a sudden you get the phone call or WhatsApp message, and it's like, audition, self-tape's got to be in by tomorrow, or it's got to be in by 2 days later. And it just wrecks everything. Like, it was just so stressful to the point where I've got to find someone to read the lines with. I've got to set up this. I'm looking at it. I don't, And then, like say, if you read it and you kind of feel a little affinity with it, that's almost even worse, because you know you're going to work really hard at it for the next couple of days, try and do a really good job. Then, of course, you spend the money in your head before you've done the part, because obviously jobs don't come around that much, and it's it's always then I can get excited about, okay, so what's next? I was constantly saying that. As soon as I landed a job, my first message would always be, okay, what's next? What can we do next? It'd always be like the appearance. Am I stepping up a level or am I not? What's happening? And it's just that kind of, I don't know if anyone can relate who's listening, just that kind of relentless sort of turmoil around it, sort of the emotional turmoil around it, was so much.
The turmoil is what I think then you start medicating yourself.
Absolutely.
And then you feel like you've got it under control, because if you can have, 3 or 4 large whiskeys on a night, or whatever your poison is, and get a good night's sleep, a night's sleep and all the rest of it, and wake up, you think, all right, I've kind of got this under control. I can be, manic and all the rest of it during the day. Then I'll get pissed until I fall asleep in the evening, and then it becomes more and more. Do you know what I mean? Like you are, or during the day or whatever. If it's a day that you think, well, I'm not going to audition. I haven't an audition until next week now. I'll just kind of like medicate myself and have a good few beers or whiskeys or whatever over the weekend, and I'll be and then like that'll give me the space and calm to work, which of course, as you know, it doesn't. It makes you 10 times worse.
Yeah, I mean, but obviously initially it did work, and for me it was definitely right from the beginning of my using when I was 11 or 12 was about switching off. It was about stopping that manic. So when you say self-medication, that's absolutely the term. I think for me is, I wanted to make it. I needed to switch off my crazy head from obsessing about something, worrying about something, or being jealous about someone else getting what I wanted, or the frustration. Mainly it was frustration of not being given an opportunity, or not getting or not taking the opportunity that I was presented with. Do you know what I mean? Not giving my best, or not being good on that day, or whatever it might be. Or, you hear about jobs come up, you think, okay, I'm right about that, and they don't even look your way for it. Do you know what I mean? It's just, a constant, there's a lot to manage. And I think that, the people that have been in it for, for as long as I have now, you do, well, I'm going through the process now where, because I say this because I got an audition last week. I just got a message from Sarah going, look, I've got this. And then I checked the dates. It's all shooting in England, which means I'd have to, they think, and there's a big thing on the brief, must be UK based. I'm not. So that means I'm paying for my own flight, I'm paying for my own hotel. And it was, spread over 2 or 3 weeks. It was a film. The part looked actually pretty good. It looked quite a nice part. I was just like, I'm just not in a place to do this, to have this amount of disruption, this amount of organization, this amount of focus. And then I've in the short, and that's if I get it in the short term, it was just like, okay, how many pages is it? Do I really feel up to it? And I just didn't. So I just didn't respond, and then I spoke to her on Friday and said, look, I've given you the cold shoulder. I know that, but I'm just not ready yet. I'm just not ready to put myself through that sort of battle. And, there is an element of it where it doesn't have to be a battle. It just has to be a surrender, where just, let go of the result. And when I'm in those moments, like the year before last, I was in that place where I could just do auditions, just get them out, and have less of and my kind of mental well-being would not be focused on the result. It's just, okay, just do them. This is your job, just do them, and just let it go. But it takes constant work to do that,
I think that's a very interesting point that we were then talking about, which we'll circle back to. And that's the athletes that don't make it at the higher level that we were talking about, your Billy Beans and your fella from Liverpool and all this stuff. I think that's where they get unraveled, is that they're not letting go of the result. I mean, and that must be really difficult. You think about a baseball player who's got 3 attempts to whack the ball and nanoseconds to do it. Not letting that get inside your head must be I mean, I
Yeah.
sometimes wonder if they're all there, these people that are really successful. Do you know what I mean? Like, how are you not over sensitive? How are you not overthinking all of this?
Yeah, but I think they do. I think they are. I think that's the nature of it. I think, but the fact is they're getting success.
Yeah.
And especially with sportsmen, obviously, by being a sportsman, you're in the early part of your life. You might retire at mid-30s. When I was in my mid-30s, or when I was like 39, I was the fittest I'd ever been. You know what I mean? It's just kind of you can handle that as you get older. As now in my age, I find I've got a lot less energy with which to sort of bounce back with. That's what I'm experiencing at the moment. It's taking time. Normally it would be okay, it'd be a couple of weeks after a slip or whatever it might be, or some sort of issue, and I'm bouncing back, and that's just not happening this time. I'm really having to sort of take care of myself and
Has it done a real number on your body?
Sorry?
Has it done a real number on your body?
Yeah, it has. It's really I've been pretty okay. I've been sort of eating well, and I only trained twice last week, but I've been getting out for walks every day. But yeah, I lost a lot of weight. But I've been putting that back on since February. But I at one point, I mean, my normal walking weight is about 77 kilos. I was 72 and a half in September last year. That's really, really light. And now I'm like 81. So I'm definitely in a good shape. But I think that with getting back to the point is that those sportsmen that do make it, I think they are obsessive. I think they do kind of, obsess constantly about every little thing and about every performance. Like listening to the footballers that I was in sort of treatment with, they were always like, okay, what's happening after the game? Like analysing. And if a manager didn't analyse their performance, they'll be distraught because they'll think they're being ignored and they weren't good enough. But it was just like one manager will be different to the next. Some managers do that and some don't. Some go through every person and go, you did this well, that not well, and others will just go, yeah, you did okay, and then that's it. I mean, what do you do with that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like damned with faint praise there, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's interesting. I have a friend out in Los Angeles, a girl. It was a long story. I ended up rescuing her one time because she broke down. And we remained friends, and a very pretty girl. And she was telling me about when she was younger, she dated a couple of guys from the NBA and one American football player. And she said the one thing about all of them is they're incredibly controlling.
Right.
Not in a necessarily abusive way, although, what controlling can be. But they needed to know everything all the time. Do you know what I mean? Like she couldn't be kind of loose and flaky. Like they needed to know everything at the time. Like they came across as sort of obsessive, jealous lovers. Because I think they need to have everything in place, everything in their mind. They can't have like a mess, otherwise it starts to muddy the waters,
Yeah, that's quite interesting. That kind of makes sense as well, especially around diet, training plans, and obsessively going in. But even like, and we don't sort of have that so much in our business, but you do have to keep yourself relatively, I wouldn't say fit, but you do have to know your body quite well. The relationship that I have between my mind and my body is as strong as a sportsman's is. Especially from the guys I was in treatment with, it's very similar, like the knowledge of what my body can and can't do and what condition it's in. I was very wary of that because obviously it's our tool, it's what we need to do our job. And, you use your body in different ways to get different, to portray different things. Do you know what I mean? That's just what the job is, really. But which is an element of it I really enjoy. But yeah, interesting. And I wonder what it's like, being, because I've got friends that are painters and poets and writers, and, they all suffer with the same thing. They all suffer with, a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, a lot of worry.
I think it's always been the case, hasn't it? I think that's why you get so many playwrights and poets and novelists that just go lose it and end up killing themselves.
Yeah. Have you read is it Mark Moran's book, How to Not Give a Fuck or something? Have you read that? Oh, it's fantastic.
Is it?
It's all about that. It's all about kind of, basically sort of existing. And he gives a lot of examples of like, famous writers. I think it was the guy that wrote, not maybe it was Catcher in the Rye or something. I can't quite. No,
Salinger or Salinger?
no. Who was the other one? No, it was about a road trip to New York when he was a kid. What was that?
Oh, you mean the road trip just across America?
Yeah, it was a guy.
Jack Kerouac.
Yes, it was him. It was basically explaining his life, how he was basically a fuck up and a complete alcoholic and a nightmare. And
Oh, yeah.
and he'd been writing and doing stuff like all his life. I think he'd worked in a post office or something like that all his life. And then he finally hit success with this.
Oh, no. That's Bukowski.
Bukowski, it's Bukowski. That's who it is. Yes.
Oh, no, that's great. Yeah. Post office, he wrote that and all that. Yes. Yeah. No, 30 years of rejection, 30 years of just being a drug. Which I remember.
He called himself a failure after he made that success and he made some money. This was in his 50s. He was my age then. But he called himself a successful failure. He said, "I'm just a bum." Like he actually used to say, "Like he is just an alcoholic bum. That's all he is." Like
he used that because to fuel his work, and he just he used to say that the only thing you need to be a writer is time and solitude, and you can't really get those if you're in the normal life. So he just kind of lived on park benches and used to get rooms sometimes and move in with a crazy girlfriend and drink and just not have anything in his way except writing. But he himself was basically a vagrant. Yeah. I've got a fascinating, not fascinating, but interesting fact. We were talking about Kerouac, Jack Kerouac, who wrote On the Road, which he wrote in a massive mescaline jag. So he'd taken mescaline and wrote for I don't know what it was, 3 days solidly, and wrote On the Road. And he had this thing in his head that he didn't like to take the paper out of a typewriter and place it to the side because he thought it interrupted his flow. So he got one massive, like a printing ream of paper, a big, massive roll of paper put into his typewriter and typed it on one massive long roll of paper. And that is the origin of the phrase, "I'm on a roll."
Is it really?
Apparently so, yeah.
That is an interesting fact. So he had like a giant, almost like, you see the receipts, when people have the
yes,
big till roll.
Exactly like a receipt.
But just a giant till roll just feeding into a typewriter that you're click-clacking away.
Exactly. It's good. I'm reading it, Jack. It's good. What are all these number tabulations on the side of this? Well, I went into Tesco's and I nabbed a massive roll.
Have you got any pet peeves this week?
I've got some interesting stuff. One, this isn't a peeve. This is actually the reverse of a peeve. I'm sure I'm going to get bombarded here, but I've got a thing about Bitcoin, right? Now, I may be right, I might be wrong. To me, it's an utter sack of bullshit and quite clearly a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, but hang on, before you get into it, is this because our mutual friend and a Freebies Band and Brothers, he started going on about it again? Because I've taken him off my WhatsApp group.
No, no, because I'm getting bombarded
yeah.
by enough Bitcoin wankers trying to sell me crypto in all my social media. No, that you go like this, actually. So it's coming up to tax day in America. So we've been sorting out our taxes and everything, me and my wife. And the website, I think we went onto the IRS website rather than the website that we use for the accountant. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I think it's the IRS one. Went on there, and there's all the things, are you self-employed, are you this, are you that, your income, you something like that. And now on the IRS website, one of the boxes that you've kind of got to check, tick, and work out is your Bitcoin wallet.
Wow.
So I was like, okay. So now you're faced with a choice. Either you say, "Oh, I'm a Bitcoin millionaire" with your weird, fake, non-existent money, but actually it's bullshit, so I'm not going to declare anything because it doesn't really exist. Or you have to double down and say, "All right, I'm a millionaire in Bitcoin," and pay, $700,000 tax that you don't actually have.
But that's bizarre because as we know from like our mutual friend that last year all tried to get us to join Bitcoin, and to the point where I think I did it, and I think you may have done as well. I've got a Bitcoin wallet, but I've got nothing in it. It just takes forever to set up. But anyway, I didn't do it. But at the time, Bitcoin was doing very well. Then literally within 12 weeks of that moment of him hassling all of us to join, the arse fell through the floor in value, and he's gone very quiet since. So what is the point on paying tax on something that could be worth 700 grand yesterday, but then 50 grand today? It's like, do you know what I mean? It's like, how do you, but it is an interesting thing though, because it does mean that it's kind of could be possibly joining the mainstream. Wow. Like, well, if it's on an IRS website, they're starting to go, either they're just trying to get more tax dollars out of it, which is obviously what they're trying to do. But I kind of agree with you, like, because I watched that Madoff thing on Netflix.
Has there ever been a man more aptly named than Bernie Madoff?
Madoff, yeah, exactly. Madoff with all the money.
Apart from that crypto guy that's called Bankman Fried, I'm like, Jesus, like, feels like Stan Lee's named these guys.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what was kind of really annoying as well. It was a couple of weeks ago, I was watching a YouTube thing, and there was an ad for cryptocurrency, and it was Matt Damon. I was so annoyed. He doesn't sound me, because like whenever I hear people invest in Bitcoin, I kind of think that what goes with the territory is you're a conspiracy theorist as well, because of the type of the way the algorithm works is that you're into all that weird shit as well, of like believing that the whole world is under a conspiracy. It's run by like 2 people and we're all dead or whatever it is.
Yeah, and they're both lizards. Yeah,
yeah, they're both lizards. But yeah, Matt Damon did a Bitcoin cryptocurrency ad on a YouTube thing, and he's just gone firing down in my estimations because of that. Like, why is he? Because he's always struck me as being your all-American hometown boy, quite down to earth, very bright, quite sharp, good at his job, you know, and quite, you know, sort of, he married a waitress, you know what I mean, quite a real down to earth, cool guy. And then he's doing cryptocurrency ads, which they've obviously paid him in cryptocurrency. So basically, they've not paid him.
Pay a lot of tax on them. Or does he admit it's bullshit and not pay the tax on it?
So you believe it's a Ponzi scheme? That's interesting. I never thought of it like that, but you're probably right, you know.
It may as well, in my mind, it may as well be called Ponzi coin. I mean, the way it's set up, you know, you get more people in and you do this and you get what I'm like, it's literally a pyramid scheme. It could be called pyramid or Ponzi scheme coin. Yeah. And then, you know, in a nanosecond, it disappears and the dude goes off to the Bahamas with 80 billion of your fake money. And
yeah, I don't get it. I don't get why it's so up and down, why it fluctuates so much as well. It's just so bizarre. I just don't.
Because like you say with the algorithms, that element of it is addictive. I mean, people, I've sort of read about people who've got like Bitcoin obsession, you know, he's literally texted, he says, I check my phone like every 11 seconds. Like,
well, we've got our friend who does that, who, you know, in one of the Band of Brothers guys, you know what I mean? Who's you know, we know who he is. Not going to mention his name, but Nolan. But anyway, he's kind of bless you. I do love you, Nolan, but you have been a pain in the bloody ass. I think he's kind of leveled out a little bit on it. But he was massively obsessed.
Yeah,
and tried to sort of get us all into it in a really kind of aggressively obsession.
And that was the bit that's a Ponzi scheme, is when you're getting other people involved because you're getting commissions, do you know what I mean? And then but I'm like, come on, they've been doing this since time immemorial.
Yeah, and I tell you what, that's a great peeve of the week. Well, that's a peeve of the year, isn't it? Bitcoin bulls. Because they are exceptionally mental.
Yeah.
And they drive me nuts.
Yeah. So I've got one other thing. And this isn't a peeve either. Football's obviously put me in a good mood. Do you remember conga lines?
Yeah. Do they still happen at parties?
I don't think they happened at parties since we, I don't know, since we stopped being so incredibly stupidly lame and white. Because people and other ethnicities came to our country and enriched our culture, brought food, brought beauty, brought a lot of things, and looked at the conga line and went, what the fuck are you idiots?
Yeah, what is the origins of it? That would be interesting to find out. Well, I bet it's something pretty horrific.
Somebody write in and tell us the origin of the conga line. If it isn't from a white supremacist meeting, I have no idea, because nobody has ever done a conga line. But my point was, how do you end one? Do you remember when they used to go round and you go in
Yeah.
and out of the Conga line? It's like, how do you end one? There's always like some weird moment where you just sort of like peel off. I mean, you have to be on the back so that you can peel off and not. They get lower and lower in number, don't they? And less in intensity. And then
Yeah,
they
but
it's a cool way to end a Conga line.
no, there isn't a cool way, but it's an interesting concept. And I'd ask another question: is that when you're at a football match and you hear a
Yes.
chant,
Yes.
why does it always go on for like 3 or 4 chants, then stop?
I don't
Why
know.
do you know what I mean? Why do they always stop? It seems like half the ground is shouting something. I'll be at Arsenal and there'll be a chant going, and then it will build and build until everyone's saying it, and then it'll just suddenly stop. It's the same sort of question, is it? What?
Well, I
It's
think
things
it's that Band of Brothers O'Keefe thing. I think it's just like it goes really big and then they all stop and there's just one dude that carries it on at the front
Yeah,
and then they
that's
all
you.
laugh at him. All right, dude. Well, we'll wrap it up. We've done an hour. It's been great as always.
Yeah, lovely to see you.
Good to see you too. Thanks to everybody. Hey, if you're interested, check out our shop because there is now merch with the wee Nearly Men logo on the front. Looks really cool. And actually German on the back.
I can't believe you've done
Which is
that.
the legendary Doug Allen and his abysmal German. So thank you, everybody. Thank you to our Patreons who continue to support us.
Yeah.
And we will come back at you again next week. It should be fine.
Whereabouts are you going to be next week?
I will be in England and I will have most of my gear. I just might not have one piece, but I'll make sure I've got my microphone and stuff. So it'll be good. But yeah, I'll be back in North Yorkshire by Sunday.
Lovely. Welcome back. Bring the rain with you. Yeah.
I'll bring some nice weather and I get to spend some more time with my delightful daughter, who I love so much and who loves me so much because I'm such a great dad. I'm just gonna play that clip for you just one last time to just play us out for the week.
Yeah.
Let's have a see. Betty, could you play us out, please?
You shit, Dad.
Next week, fellas.
See you next week.